This is the exam review 1 through 50 for exam review A. So question number one. In question number one, it says, what type of transformation is shown in the diagram below? It is that flipped opposite mirror image, so it is a reflection. In question number two, what is the rule for the translation? When you go to do a rule for the translation, you are going from the letter to the same letter prime. So like A to A prime. So if we're going from this red one to this blue one, how many left or right? How many up or down? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places to the left. 1, 2, 3 up. So our rule is left 5, up 3. In question number 3, what type of transformation is it? It's turning, so it is a rotation. Question number 4. Now, there's going to be about 5 or 6 questions that I tell you, this is a hard question. We've been giving the same exam for...
Johnny Martin to the main office, please. Johnny Martin to the main office.
We've been giving the same exam for about 5 years now, all right? I know the questions that kids miss the most often, right? Will I highlight those especially for you so to draw your attention to them? Yes. This is one of those questions that a lot of people get wrong, all right? Find the scale factor for the dilation. The scale factor is what you multiply by, all right? So notice that we're going from the green shape to the red shape, right? Because it goes from the letter without the prime to the letter with the prime. So our shape is getting smaller. Anytime that the shape gets smaller, you know that you're multiplying by some sort of fraction, right? So now how do you figure out what you're multiplying by? What I would do is I would choose a point. I chose C and C prime. C is at 6, 3. C prime is at 2, 1. How do you get from a 6 to a 2? What do you have to multiply by? 6 times what equals 2? Or you could look at the y values. 3 times what equals 1? How do you get from 3 to 1? Well, what you have to do is you have to multiply by 1/3, all right? How can you tell for sure that it's 1/3? You could divide those two numbers. 6 divided by 2 is 3, but know that because it's getting smaller, it has to be 1/3, not 3. If it was getting bigger, we would be multiplying by like 2 or multiplying by 3. You could also do this one by looking at the length of the side. Whoa, that was probably a bad color to use. This length is 3, this length is 1. So our new shape is 1/3 of the size of the original. Since it's 1/3 of the size, we multiply by 1/3. Again, that's one that a lot of people get wrong. Question number 5. The area of triangle ABC is 20. Under which transformation could the area be greater than 20? Well, the only one that makes it bigger or smaller is a dilation. Now we go to the next chapter's worth of questions. This is the angles chapter now. In the diagram below, 2 parallel lines are cut by a transversal. Name one pair of angles that are not congruent. Not congruent means not equal to. You want 2 angles that are not the same size. If we take a look at angle 1 is a small little acute angle. We want to find an angle that is not that same size. Well, the one right next to it, angle 3, that's a big, fat, obtuse angle. So we have a skinny angle and a big, fat angle. Those are not the same size. Therefore, 1 and 3 is a possible answer. All of these combinations up here are all possible answers. We're just looking for 2 angles that are not the same size. In question number 7, you have parallel lines cut by a transversal. Notice that you're being given this upper left angle and this upper left angle, right? Because we're being given the upper left and upper left, they're in the same place. They're in the same spot. They are corresponding angles, all right? Corresponding angles are equal to each other. You also know that these are equal to each other in parallel lines. If they look the same, they are the same. They're equal to each other. They're also both acute angles. So if they're equal to each other, what we want to do is we want to set them equal to each other. The one angle equals the other angle. Solve this equation for x. Get the letters on the one side by subtracting by 2x. then it becomes a two-step equation, a one-step equation. You get an answer of x equals 9. You do not need to sub it back in because this said, what is the value of x? In question number 8, which pair of angles are alternate interior? Alternate means opposite corners. Interior means inside the parallel lines. So we have parallel lines right here and right here. We're looking inside the parallel lines in opposite corners. So that would be like 2 and 5, 3 and 8. In question number 9, you're given angle 5. Angle 5 is 118. So this angle right here is 118. They want to know what angle 1 is. Notice that they're in the same place again. They're in the upper left and upper left. Well, if this one's 118, this one has to be 118. They're in the same place. They are corresponding angles. Notice obtuse angle, obtuse angle. If they look the same, they are the same. They're equal to each other. So that was 118. In question number 10, you have these two inside angles added together equals this outside angle. So x plus 60 equals 115. You could just set up that equation and solve to get 55. Or you could take this angle outside, subtract the angle inside to find the other angle. So 115 minus 60 is 55. Then we move on to the volume chapter. In the volume chapter, notice that I gave you the formula. It says find the volume of the cone. Notice that I gave you the formula. Will I be giving you the formula on the final exam? Yes. All right. Everything that's on here is exactly like the final exam, not trying to trick you whatsoever. So you're given the radius. The radius goes halfway across the circle. Your radius is 6 and your height is 10. Plug those numbers into the formula. So you have 1/3 times pi times 6 squared times 10. You get 377 when you round to the nearest 10th. In question number 12, be very, very careful right here. Notice that I give you the diameter. You never, ever, ever want the diameter. You want the radius. The radius is half of the diameter. So we do 10 divided by 2 to get 5 as the radius. Sub it into the formula. We have 4/3 times pi times the radius cubed, which is 5 cubed. You get 523.6 when you round to the nearest 10th. In question number 13, finding the volume of the cylinder. This time we have pi r squared h. So our radius goes halfway across the circle, which is 4. Our height is 14. Sub those numbers into the formula, 703.7. In question number 14, trying to trick you a little bit. Again, notice the formula is there for the cylinder, pi r squared h, but I'm giving you the diameter instead of the radius. You have to take that diameter and divide by 2 to get a radius of 2.2, which is the number that you need to sub into the formula. So pi times 2.2 squared times 5, round to the nearest 10th, you get 76. In question number 15, volume of a hemisphere. Notice the 0.5 out in front. A hemisphere is half of a sphere. That's why we have the 0.5 there. 0.5 times 4/3 times pi times 7 cubed, because our radius is 7, and you get 718.4. In question number 16, these come from chapter 10 that we just finished about a week ago. What is the decimal form of the fraction? To change a fraction into a decimal, you have to do the top number divided by the bottom number. So -5 divided by 12. -5 divided by 12 is -0.4166666666, or 6 repeating. In class kick, you can't type repeating, so you need to keep on putting sixes after the 6 there. All right. In question number 17, which expression below is not equivalent? Not equivalent means not equal to. Which one is not equal to the other 3? So which one is not like the other 3? All right, so we have, when you type these three into the calculator, B, C, and D, you get 0.125. But notice that that doesn't match choice A, which is 0.0125. So be very careful there. In question number 18, which of the following symbols results in a true statement? We have equal to, greater than, less than. Why on earth you would even pick D, I don't know. That doesn't make any sense, all right? And X doesn't make any sense. That shouldn't even be a choice. So we want to put these into the calculator. When you do that, you get 2.5 and 2.5. 2.5 is equal to 2.5. In question number 19, put the numbers in order from least to greatest. In Class Kick, this looks a little bit different for you. You had to number them with 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what I would do is type these numbers into the calculator to make them look like money. Square root of 8 is $2.82. Square root of 3 is $1.73. And this is really like $1.50. So the one that is the lowest amount of money gets a 1. So that is the first one, 1.5. The next biggest amount of money would be $1.73. The next biggest amount of money would be the square root of 8, or 282. And the biggest one would be $3. And they would go in order like that. In number 20, I know number 20 looks a little bit different on your Class Kick as well. 350%. We want to change that into a decimal. You could type it right into your calculator, or you can move the decimal point over 2 places to the left to make it be 3.5. Where is 3.5 on the number line? 3.5 is exactly halfway in between 3.4 and 3.6. In question number 21, now we're starting the stuff from chapter 9, right? So chapter 9 is all the a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Notice that the formula is there for you. Will the formula be there on the final exam? Yes, not trying to trick you. Anything that's here is going to be there. Bob is flying a kite. How long is the kite string? We're on to the nearest 10th. Remember that your C side is your slanted side. The C side is the slanted side. Doesn't matter which one you pick for A or which one you pick for B. So I'm subbing these numbers into the formula. So I have 20 squared plus 50 squared equals C squared. You could type that right into the calculator and get 2,900. The last step in every question is to take the square root. So the square root of 2,900, 53.9 when you round to the nearest 10th. In question number 22, this time we're given the C side, which is 16. I chose this side as my A and 14 as my B. So I'm solving for the A side this time. So plug the numbers into the formula where it belongs. A squared plus 14 squared equals 16 squared. Square these numbers first. 14 squared is 196. 16 squared is 256. I want to try and get the A squared all by itself. So minus 196 minus 196, we get 60 when we subtract. Take the square root of 60 and you get 7.7. In question number 23, again, this one looks a little bit different on your Class Kick as well. The first thing that you want to remember is that the C side is always the biggest number. So your C side here is 13. Your C side here is 14. Remember, they don't always go in order A, B, C. Now what you want to do to figure out which one forms a right triangle, we want to know which one is the yes on your final exam. So I gave you one yes and one no. All right, so what you would do is sub these numbers into the formula. 5 squared plus 12 squared. On the left-hand side here, we get 169. On the right-hand side for our C squared, 13 squared is 169. If the two numbers match, then it is a yes. This one would form the right triangle. On your final exam, that's what you want for the one that matches, the one that forms a right triangle. This one would be the answer, these three numbers. This one would not be the correct answer. When you go to sub it in, make sure that you're subbing it into the correct spot so that 14 goes over to the right because that's your biggest number. 6 squared plus 13 squared is 205. 14 squared is 196. This would be a no because the numbers are not equal to each other. It does not form a right triangle. In question number 24, you have two different triangles here. You have one green triangle up here and you have one yellow triangle down here, right? What you want to know is, or what they want to know is, how far apart are the two cars? How long is this pink side? Well, the way that we would do this is you have to find the slanted side of the green triangle. That slanted side of the green triangle's work is right here. That slanted side of the green is 5 when we sub it in. We want to find the slanted side of the yellow triangle. So we would have 12 squared plus 16 squared equals x squared. All right, we get an answer of 20. And now that I know that this part is 5 and this part is 20, the third part of this question is to add the two numbers together. 5 plus 20 equals 25, because that's the total distance of those two added together. And in number 25, the legs. Legs mean your A and your B side. Hypotenuse is your C side. So you're given the two legs of 10 and 24. So that's your A and your B. You're looking for the hypotenuse, which is your C. So we have 10 squared plus 24 squared equals x squared. Sub them in, you get 676 when you square them and add them together. So square root of 676 is 26. Questions on any of those? Close that class kick, open up 26 through 50, please. In 26 through 50, in question number 1. Now this stuff goes all the way back to chapter 1 that we did back in September, scientific notation. In question number 26, you're making 2,500 into scientific notation. Put a decimal point after the first non-zero number, so it goes in between the 2 and the 5. Write that number down in front of the times 10. So we have 2.5 times 10, and then to get to the end, 1, 2, 3 places to get to the end. So it's times 10 to the third power. Question number 27. I think this question is the hardest one on the whole entire exam, number 27. The formula that you're using here is distance equals rate times time, all right? What they want you to actually do is, it's really a dividing in scientific notation question, but we sort of disguise it as a word problem. All right, you're being given the distance. All right, you're being given the distance. The distance in the word problem, it says the distance is 1.5 times 10 to the 10th. So we're subbing that in for the distance. It says that light travels at a speed. Speed is your rate. So 3 times 10 to the 8th is your rate. And then what you're looking for is the time. About how long does it take? So this is your time. So we have distance equals rate times time. Now we want to solve for the t. I sort of showed over here, if you had a normal one-step equation that looked like this, how would you solve for t? This is really 4 times t, so we'd have to divide by 4 and divide by 4 to get t equals 2. Here, to get the t all by itself, we need to divide by 3 times 10 to the 8th and 3 times 10 to the 8th. These cancel out, right? These cancel out right here. So we're left with just t on the right-hand side, top divided by bottom. When you go to type this into the calculator, you have to, when you're dividing in scientific notation, you have to put in parentheses into the calculator. If you don't, you'll get the wrong answer every time. So parentheses 1.5 times 10 to the 10th divided by parentheses 3 times 10 to the 8th. You end up with 5 times 10 to the 1st or 50. All right, either one of those two answers. In question number 28, population of Georgia is 9.4 million. Put a decimal point in between after the first non-zero number, so in between the 9 and the 4. Write that number down in front of the times 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places to get to the end, so it's times 10 to the 6th power. In number 29, all that you have to do in 29 is just type that right into the calculator. Type it exactly how it is with the parentheses, -5 inside parentheses to the 3rd power, you get -125. In number 30, you have to remember the rule for multiplying with exponents. We have 6 to the third times 6 to the second. You keep the base the same and you add the exponents. So the 6 stays the same. 3 plus 2 is 5. In question number 31, a taxi cab charges $2.75 just for getting into the cab. Plus they charge you 30 cents for every mile that you go. Her total charge was $8.75. They want you to write an equation. So you have your $2.75 for just stepping into the cab, plus 30 cents times the number of miles. I know in Class Kick, I told you to write an X. I wrote an M there for miles, but I told you in Class Kick to use an X. Equals $8.75. Could you have switched these around and did 0.30x plus $2.75? Sure, all right. In question number 32, solving the equation for t, we're in the solving equations portion of the exam. So there's really a 1 in front of that t. You want to get all the letters onto one side. So the first thing that you want to do is minus 1t and minus 1t. Those 1t's cancel out. 4t minus 1t is 3t. Bring down your minus 7, bring down your equal sign, bring down your negative 10. Now you just have a two-step equation. Add 7s, divide by 3s, you get t equals negative 1. In this one, you want to do the distributive property first. Take the number outside, multiply it by both of the things inside. 2 times 2t is 4t. 2 times 1 is 2. Again, you have letters on both sides. Get all the letters on the one side. So I'm going to do minus 4t and minus 4t. Now you just have a two-step equation. Add 10s, divide by 3s. You get t equals 4. In question number 34, there's really 2 totally different ways to do this question. Jeremy has 250 stamps. Jonas has 15 fewer than that. You could just subtract 15 from the 250 and get 235. Another way that you could do it, which is really technically what this is testing, is setting up a one-step equation. X plus 15 equals 250. Subtract 15 from both sides and get 235. I think it's easier just to subtract if it makes sense. In number 35, pay close attention to this one. This is one that a lot of people get wrong. Take the number outside. We're solving the equation. Take the number outside, do the distributive property. So we get 1x plus 5 equals 1x minus 5. Solving the equation, we would subtract 1x from both sides. When you subtract 1x from both sides, these x's cancel out, these x's cancel out. All that we're left with is 5 equals negative 5. All of our letters are gone. We have 2 numbers that are not equal to each other, so that is no solution. When is it going to be infinite solutions? If all the letters canceled out and we ended up with the same thing on both sides, that's when it would be infinite solutions. But no solutions, the numbers don't match. Number 36. Number 36 is one that a lot of people get wrong as well. You're given 2 points, 1 comma 14 and 7 comma 2. You need to find the slope between those 2 points. Remember that all points are written x comma y. So 1 is an x, 14 is a y, 7 is an x, 2 is a y. 1 comma 14 is your first point, these get 1s. 7 comma 2 is your second point, those get 2s. You have to use this formula. Will the formula be given to you on the final exam? Yes, not trying to trick you, right? Anything that's here is going to be there on the final exam, all right? So that will be there. Sub those numbers into the formula, 2 minus 14 across the top, 7 minus 1 across the bottom. You get negative 12 over 6 when you subtract. You could leave your answer like that, or if you wanted to reduce it, divide by 6, and get negative 2 over 1. In number 37, Bob made $50 for 5 hours of lawn work. What is the rate of change? Now that rate is your hourly rate. How much is he getting paid per hour? Well, he earned $50, he worked for 5 hours, 50 divided by 5 is $10 an hour. This one is a hard one too, all right? This one, the only real way to do this one is trial and error, all right? I'm not gonna show you the wrong answers, I'm just gonna show you the right answer. The right answer is B, all right? Now, they give you these points. These are your X values, these are your Y values. What you need to do is take those X's and Y's and sub them into the equations for your x and your y. So you're subbing it in there and there. You're subbing it in here and here. All right, you're subbing it in for your x's and your y's and seeing if it checks or not. In order for it to be a solution to the system, it has to check in both equations. Notice that we end up with 12 equals 12 and 4 equals 4. It has to check in both. If we subbed in A or subbed in C, it might check in one but not the other. It might not check in either one. It has to check in both equations. That one, the only way to do it is trial and error. This is one that a lot of people get wrong as well. This is very close to a 9th grade topic. We want to rearrange so that this equation is solved for y equals. We want to get the y all by itself. To get the y all by itself, we need to first get rid of this 5x. Minus 5x minus 5x. Bring down your negative y, bring down your equal sign. Here's where you need to be careful. A very common mistake right here. You can't add or subtract a plain number and a letter. 2 minus 5x is just 2 minus 5x. Or, if you think back to when we were graphing these, you had to switch around the order so that the x came first. You have to move the sign with it. So 2 minus 5x becomes negative 5x plus 2 when we switch around the order. There's really a negative 1 in front of that y. So we have to divide by negative 1, and negative 1. Negative 5 divided by negative 1 is positive 5. 2 divided by negative 1 is negative 2. So we end up with 5x minus 2. If you didn't rearrange the order here and just left it as 2 minus 5x, you might have got this as an answer, which is perfectly fine. Just know on the final exam for a multiple choice, it will be flipped around. But that's technically an incorrect answer. In question number 40, write the equation of the line. Every equation that you ever write has a y equals and an x, all right? The slope goes in front of the x. For your slope, how do you get from dot to dot to dot? Up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3. That's where this 1/3 comes from in our answer. The plus or minus is your y-intercept. Where does the line cross the y-axis? It crosses it right here. It crosses it at 3. All right, it crosses it at 3 right there. In question number 41, one of the easiest questions. Which statement is true? Well, take a look at the graph. The plane is starting off at about 39,000 feet and going down, 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 down. Going down, another word for going down is decreasing. That is what the graph is doing. In number 42, you might have not known how to do this one, but this is a very, very easy question. Domain. The word domain means your x values. The word domain means your x values. All points are written x comma y, right? All points are written x comma y. So when we take a look at it, all that I'm asking you for here is what are the x values? So take a look at this first point, 1 comma 2, the 1 is the x value. 3 comma 4, what's the x value? It's 3. 5 comma 6, what's the x value? It's 5. 7 comma 8, what's the x value? It's 7. So 1, 3, 5, and 7 are the domain. Number 43 is a hard question as well. This is probably the second hardest question on the exam, in my opinion. Miguel and Molly are cyclists. The graph shows Miguel, all right? So the graph is represented by Miguel. Molly biked at a rate of 0.15. Which statement is true? I don't have time to go through the wrong ones, but let's take a look at the right one. The right one is Miguel traveled 0.2 miles per minute. How do I figure that out? Well, what this really is this is the rate. How do you find the rate? You have to find the slope in between 2 points. You need to choose 2 points that are on the line, where the line crosses that background grid. So I chose 15.6 and 39. Then you need to put it into the slope formula. Well, where's the slope formula? The slope formula, remember, was used in question number 36. So you can always go back to question number 36 and look at the slope formula. So now that we're looking at that one, we choose those numbers, sub them into the formula. Top divided by bottom right here, 3 divided by 15 is 0.2. So Miguel's rate is 0.2. That's true. You need to use the slope formula for 43. In number 44, choose the table that is a non-linear function. Well, take a look at the other three choices. Take a look at your y columns. Adding by 2, adding by 2, adding by 2, adding by 1, adding by 1, adding by 1, adding by 3, adding by 3, adding by 3. Those are consistent. They're the same. They're constant. They're increasing at the same amount. That would form a straight line. This one, however, we're adding by 2, adding by 3, adding by 5. You're not adding by the same number each time or subtracting by the same number each time. So this one would be the one that is not linear because it's not going up by the same amount. Question number 45. What this one is really testing, if you think back to when we were graphing lines, when x equals 0, whatever your y value is your plus or minus. It is the y-intercept. So we want to find the one that has the positive 2 as the y-intercept. That positive 2 or plus 2 is right there. So D is your choice. That's what we're really testing there, is the y-intercept. In question number 46, which statement about the two-way table is true? Is choice A, of the students who like hot dogs. Like hot dogs is right here. Most play baseball. 10 play baseball, 2 don't play baseball, so that is true. In question number 47, which type of association is it? Well, when you take a look at this graph, as we go from left to right, just like we read a sentence, this graph is going down. Since it's going down, down is negative. Up is positive, nonlinear is the U shape. No, the dots are all over the place. In question number 48, which statement is true? It's choice B. As the engine size increases, notice as we go from left to right, the engine size is going up. Well, what happens to the fuel economy as we go to the right? This is going down. So as the engine size increases, the fuel economy decreases, which is choice B. In question number 49, let me give you a very easy way to figure this one out. The easy way to figure this one out, when you look at your choices, all right, you want to pick out the equation of this line of best fit. You can eliminate 2 choices right away. The 2 choices that you can eliminate are B and C. Why can you eliminate B and C right away? Take a look at our line. Our line is going up. This has a negative slope in B. This has a negative slope in C. That would make the line go down. So you can get rid of half of your choices right away. Now you got to look at the slope. Are we going up 5 over 1 or up 1.5 and over 1? Well, if we start here at 9, if we go up 5 over 1, up 5 over 1, our line for A would go up like that. That's not true. All right, so it has to be choice D. In number 50, they want you to make an estimate for 10. Go over to 10, go up to your line. It is slightly above 25. Slightly above 25 would be choice C. So your final exam questions look just like these 50 questions.